Hello, Phil at digitaldjtips.com with a look at the Gemini CDMP-7000. They call it a professional multimedia workstation or professional media workstation. What it is a DJ controller which can use pretty much all sources that you can think of for its music. It's got CD, USB, little SD cards like you have in your camera. Also you can use MP3s on CD, but most importantly to software DJs and to the kind of people who read the Digital DJ Tips website is that it can also be used as a Midi controller to control the decks on DJ software such as Tractor and Virtual DJ. So it's a really versatile unit and it's good value for money. The decks are similar in look and feel to the Pioneer equipment that you find in DJ booths, and in fact to look at the whole thing, it does have that professional DJ booth feel to it as opposed to a home DJ controller feel, and that's part of the appeal of the unit. So what I'm going to do today is talk you through the features of the unit, and then at the end of the video we'll have a little chat about who this might appeal to and which kind of people will particularly find this better than say a normal DJ controller. So let's have a closer look at it. It's divided up into two CDJs, two DJ CD players or media players, because of course they play more than just CDs, and a 3-channel analog mixer in the middle. We'll come to the mixer in a minute, but let's look at the CDJs to start with. These are club feel. They've got big heavy jog wheels, very similar to Pioneer CDJs with the blue ring in the middle, and you get a big mechanical adjust to make them light or bit heavier on your hand, so they feel very similar to club equipment. Again, feel very similar here to club equipment with your playing cue, your big circular buttons. Hot cues down this side. There is a slip button here which just is used to keep the music playing while you're doing something else, and you turn it off again and the music carries on as if you hadn't done anything. Really useful effect. You find that in Pioneer and Denon CDJ players. Also you find it in Tractor software. All the usual CD style controls here, track and search. And then on this side there is a big, good pitch control. It controls to about a 50th of a BPM using CDs and about 100th using software. So very good, nothing wrong with that. Here is a nice feature. You can set the start and stop time. So you can set this to start up a bit like a record deck would. When you hit play, it'll slowly start, or you can have it starting instantly, and the same with stop. Okay, the standout feature is this big section here, a big colour screen. It has waveforms on it for CDs and for USBs, not for software though, and it's quite nice. It's touch screen as well, which is a bit gimmicky. Most of the controls that you can use here with your finger, there's also a button for, but it's quite a nice display. Not up there with the best club gear, but certainly better than budget DJ controllers normally have. And here is a select button which is just used for scrolling through whatever's on the CD, whatever's on the USB or the SD card, or of course scrolling through your software if you're using it with software. Down this side there is your choice of input: CD, USB, SD card or Midi, and that's when you're controlling software. These decks are very similar to the CDJ-700 model from the same company, and we've actually reviewed that, so if you're interested in finding out more about them, go and have a look there. The two decks are identical, completely identical. They're not a mirror image, so some controllers have kind of a mirror, so in the pitch control being on the outside there would be on the outside here, but no, they're identical copies of each other. Up the middle you have the mixer, an analog mixer. Really important to get this into your head if you're considering this unit. The unit as a whole will not control your DJ software. These bits will. This mixer does what your DJ software would do, does what the mixer on your software does here in hardware. So your mixer in software is redundant. You set your software to what's called external mode, and then this mixer does the work for you. Now, doesn't really matter. Some people prefer to do it externally. If you're a DVS user, you will by default. Other people want the mixer in their controller to control their software. Just be aware that this one doesn't, and don't be disappointed if you buy it thinking it will. That software mixer up the middle of your DJ software ain't going to do nothing when you've got this plugged in. The end result is exactly the same. Some would say better, because you can get more ear-friendly distortion, if you like, when you push an analog mixer too hard, whereas a digital one will just sound awful. Anyway, that's another debate. Just bear that in mind. That's what it looks like on the top then. Let's look at what the connections are on this unit. So going from this side to this side, we have a microphone input. It's an XLR microphone input, but it's also got a combi, so you can plug a TRS in there as well. There's another microphone on the front. We'll come to that in a second. Here's your input section. So there's two inputs for record decks or other CDs, other line sources with switches between them and an earth. There's also an RCA input for an auxiliary, and also quite nicely a TRS input for an auxiliary. So you can plug an iPad or an iPhone or MP3 player, backup device in there easily. There's a recording output USB for your PC, so you can record everything the unit does on your PC. There's also a full Midi control which doubles up as a recorder, so you never need both plugged in. Here's the output section, really nice output section. It's got XLRs as well as RCA outputs, booth and record outputs. This is good stuff. This is a kind of professional mixer stuff. And then your CDs, as well as being wired internally into the mixer, they've also got external outputs. You can take them out individually. Crucial if you're going to use this for DVS, for Serato Scratch Live or Tractor Scratch Live, because it takes the individual CD outputs. So you can plug them into your breakout box for your DVS DJ. And then there's also quite nicely digital outs there for both CDs. On the front of the unit, I'm going to hold this up so I don't put those leads down. So I'll talk you through this. There is a microphone with microphone level, high and low, a talk over on off, and a booth level control, as well as headphones, small and large headphone sockets. Let's pop this down here again, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the mixer. So let's talk through the mixer. At the top here, there's an input matrix. So this will decide whether you're using auxiliary, whether you're monitoring the USB record from your computer, whether you're using your software inputs, or your line, or your phono. So a whole set of inputs there. Going through only 3 channels. I'd like to have seen an extra channel there, but there you go. These are your standard gain plus high, mid and low, and then your Q controls. There's a few things on here which you wouldn't find on a normal DJ controller mixer, and a lot of DJs coming from analog or coming from the clubs and buying this as a home device are going to enjoy seeing these things. To start with, full VU metering. There's a meter for every channel as well as a stereo meter for the output. Really good for your gain staging. It's nice to see that on a mixer. There is a balance control. You often don't see a balance control, so there's your left and right for your speakers. And there's a stereo mono split for your headphones. This puts one channel in one headphone and one in the other basically, and it makes it easier if you're used to DJing that way. Old mixers used to have that on it all the time. You very rarely see that nowadays. Full set of controls for the crossfader, which is replaceable. You can have crossfader start, but you can also reverse the crossfader, hamster style for scratching, and you can alter the curve on the crossfader again for scratching. This crossfader is not very good for scratching. It's a bit tight, but as I say, you can change it. So there's our talk through the unit. Let's have a little think now about who might want to use this. So if you're a home DJ, you're probably going to want a normal DJ controller. And by normal DJ controller, I just mean one of the smaller boxes than this that doesn't have CD players on it and that controls DJ software, and it's something which is lightweight and cheaper as well. That's good for most people. But if you've got aspirations to DJ in a club, if you want to buy gear that you can use with your DJ software, but also that you can turn your computer off and use in the same way that club gear works, this is better for you. Unplug your computer, DJ with this using USB. You probably won't bother using CDs, but hey, it's up to you. You can take USB sticks into most clubs and use their CDJs with USB now anyway. But if you were to turn off your computer, put a USB in there, you can use this unit in just the same way that you'd use club units. It feels similar. The actual style of DJing with it is similar. You don't have a sync button. You have rudimentary waveforms, but let's assume you don't really have any waveforms to go off. You are DJing by and large in the same way as you would in a club. That's really useful because you can learn using your software, you can learn using your sync functions and using your waveforms, and you can learn in the way anyone does on any DJ controller. But when you're ready, this will help you make the transition into the clubs. It's a question I get asked all the time. How can I get myself ready for using club gear? This is how. It's cheap as well. You try and buy a Pioneer setup for your house, nice though they are, it's going to cost you a lot more than this does. That's its main appeal, I think, to a big chunk of our readership. But there are other people who would be interested in it too. Mobile guys. Look, it's got everything a mobile guy could want on it. DVS users, if you use Track to Scratch, if you use Serato Scratch in the clubs, you take your little box, you take your control CDs, this can be your home unit, and you can just plug your Serato or your Tractor box in the back, and you can use this as your home unit with the same time code CDs in here to give you really tight jog wheel control. By the way, with software, the control of the jog wheels on Tractor and Virtual DJ is okay, but it's not brilliant. If you want scratchy style, tight jog wheel control, you have to use DVS or you have to use CDs and USBs. It's quite normal that for most DJ controllers, by the way. I'm not singling this one out. With Tractor, unless you've got a Tractor controller, scratching is not brilliant on nearly all controllers, cheap to expensive. With Virtual DJ, it can be a bit better, but it's not always fantastic. The only software, by the way, where all the controllers that I've tested, from the cheapest to the most expensive, give you really tight jog wheel control is Serato. But that's by the by. So they're the people who this would appeal to. It won't appeal to the DJs who want the whole thing to control everything on their software. This bit does nothing on your software. It's only the decks that will control your software. As long as you bear that in mind, you won't be disappointed when you buy it. It's great value for money. It's not the most refined thing in the world. You know, it's well enough built. It should last, but it's a big old plastic box on a metal chassis. And you know, if you're looking for the highest cutting edge tech of something like Pioneer DDJ-SX or, you know, something along those lines, it's not there. This is basically two reasonably priced, well featured CDJ players bolted onto an analog mixer with Midi and sound cards built into them so that you can use your computer sound through it. That's what it is. It is the sum of its parts. It's the CDMP-7000 from Gemini, and the full review, as always, is on digitaldjtips.com. Thank you for watching.